From the BBR studios, it is Line Locked, where we talk about everything racing and a lot of BS.
I like BS.
Do you like BS?
Love it.
For the second time. This is episode number 17. That's a 1 and a 7.
That's a big number.
Yeah, it is.
It's. I mean, if we were a kid, we would be in probably a senior in high school or something, right?
Yeah, maybe driving.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, we hopefully driving at 17.
I don't know. Some places,
my daughter does not want to drive.
Yeah, I was gonna say some people don't want to drive until they're like 20 something.
I don't know. All right, we have a very special guest today. I want you guys to stay around for Ryan Wing. Sorry, I don't know why I said Wig, but Wing.
Wing, yes.
That's the one I was. Yeah, Tailgate Throwdown. So make sure you stay around. We're going to do the news on the top half like we always do.
Wait, you had a funny story you want to talk about?
We can. Burger King. You ever heard of it?
No.
It turns out, we always talk about things that make me upset. A lot of things deal with drive-thrus.
Yeah.
This one does. We had my other job, we had to send somebody for food a lot of times because, the truck's too big. And it turns out at drive-thru at Burger King, they only let you get 2 orders per vehicle. Normally there's 6 of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he goes up there, he goes, all right, well, would you like me to do 2 orders and then go around the building? And no, you have to come inside. And he's like, well, I mean, that doesn't seem like it's my way. Because the Burger King thing.
Yeah.
And I said to him, man, it sounds like they're treating you like a burger queen.
Oh.
I don't know what that's about.
Oh.
But, it just seems like it's kind of sad. I was like, was there anybody behind you? He goes, no. I go, well, so what'd you do? He goes, I ordered. Drove around the building and ordered again. But the second time he was able to get 3 in instead of the 2. So they violated the rules.
Maybe they felt sorry for him.
Yeah, evidently. Yeah. But this is probably at 9 o'clock at night because that's usually when we have to eat anyway.
Yeah,
so
and they probably spit on his burger.
Probably.
Yeah, somebody's burger.
Yeah, Farva. Liter of cola.
Funny story. There used to be a Burger Queen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was back in probably the late 70s, early 80s. Yeah, Burger King bought them out.
Really?
Yeah, seriously.
Okay, well, that's interesting. All right, well, we got the news. Let's do the news real quick.
Let's do it. It is the Line Locked Podcast News, and here is Corey.
Hey, it's Corey for the news. This is old news, but still news. This week, if you're watching this week, we have the 2024 Pro Superstar Shootout at Bradenton Motorsports Park. That's where they get all the expensive top fuelers together, and it's the biggest purse they've ever done. It's the Skag Power Equipment Pro Superstar Shootout. They'll kick off qualifying at the night of Thursday, the February 8th, and there'll be 3 qualifying sessions that do on the Friday the 9th. Eliminations are on February the 10th. Top Fuel and Funny Car will both race for $250,000 a piece.
Yeah.
Pro Stock will compete for $125,000, and with the total payouts, because they're going to have a normal bracket program as well, $1.3 million
total. That's a big race.
That's a big race.
Yeah, it is.
It's sponsored by Drag Illustrated, so
there you go.
And the Top Fuel and Funny Car are going to be limited to 16 car field and Pro Stock. So there's only 16 people, so there'll be a lot of people qualifying that won't even be able to go for it, which is kind of crazy. The second news and the last of the news,
the last news for the day.
The last news of the day is Austin Prock will start for NHRA driving this season for John Force Racing Funny Car instead of his Top Fuel dragster, as Robert Height has to tend to some undisclosed personal medical matters. He said he's coming back.
Okay, well, that's good.
But he just needed to take the year off, which is a big announcement because it's actually kind of cool. Tim Wilkerson, you know who that is? He is not going to drive. His son is going to drive.
Oh, okay.
So he's still going to crew chief. So it's a father-son duo.
Yeah. And
then Austin Prock will have his daddy crew chiefing for him. So it'll be 2 families. I thought that was kind of a neat story. You could follow more on that. There's the NHRA Insider Podcast, which is Brian Loans. He's still waiting to come on this podcast and tell me I'm wrong about the NHRA.
Yeah, he hasn't responded yet to your emails.
I've DM'd him. I've slid into his DMs and he's not answering me. But nonetheless, he had Austin Prock on there talking about this whole thing. Yeah. It's kind of cool. So make sure you go check him out. That's going to be it for the news.
That's pretty cool that their dad's going to be doing the crew chiefing for him.
Yeah,
because that's a family sport.
It's a family sport, and then they've never in the history of Funny Car that I'm aware of, and I think they talk about it in the NHRA Insider Podcast. This is the first time they've had 2 father-son teams.
Yeah.
So it's going to be cool to watch. It'll be a little bit of rivalry. Plus, Robert Height's car was on fire last year. So
literally, or
well, I'm sure a few
fast?
times, but it was a really fast car. They figured that car out. So Austin's going to get in a car that's proven. Tim Wilkerson, I think he was doing really well. I mean, he won a couple races or one race the year before last. So it's not like he's not competitive. But I think if he can focus more on the tuning aspect and let his son drive, that's going to give him a bigger competitive advantage too. Yeah. So I think they're both in for a really great season. They have a lot of good sponsors behind them.
I hope they have a good relationship.
Yeah.
Stress kills you, man.
Could you imagine holding the flashlight for your top fuel crew retrieve? You're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong.
This isn't a 9/16.
Dad, hold the flashlight right.
Yeah. It would be interesting. It'll be fun to watch. So make sure. I think the first race is I think it's Gator Nationals. I can't remember. Well, I think one of these episodes we're going to talk about the NHRA schedule,
we'll get down to the better times.
I think it's the end of February, so only a month away from this podcast.
Yeah,
we'll start back up in NHRA. So they've had their time off.
It's only a couple months away, a few months away.
Yeah,
racing gets back started in our area at least.
Yeah, the biggest race just happened. Was going to be the U.S. Street Nationals, which happened last week before. We would talk about the actual winners if we knew them yet, because this is going to be pre-recorded. But that is, to me, is the opener and the one that signifies, hey, winter's almost over, boys.
Yes.
Get your shit in gear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we do have a race coming up here. We want to talk to Ryan Wing.
Yep, not Wig.
Not Wig, it's Wing. I'm sure he's going to correct you on that.
Yeah.
Ryan Wing, he's putting on a good show. Let's talk to him real quick, man.
Yep.
Let's pull him on here.
All right.
Hey, Ryan, how you doing, buddy?
How's it going, gentlemen?
Not too bad, man. We've been kind of following what you're doing. I got invited to the Tailgate Throwdown, like a private group, and they were going to do this cool race. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about who you are and your history, and then everything you're doing for drag racing. And then after that, we will talk about the Tailgate Throwdown.
All right. Sounds good. Well, I am just a nobody from good old North Texas. Last name is Wing. You can call me Wig. You can call me Wang. I get the mail all the time, and the wife has a whole slew of names she calls it. So.
I got a stutter, man. Sometimes
all good.
I can't.
I do it too, man.
Sometimes I can't read right.
But about me, I mean, I'm 40, and I've been in or around drag racing in some form or fashion since I could drive. I just mainly did a lot of street night stuff. I'd always go out and support the local tracks and things like that, kind of cut my teeth and understand, how it's done. And then I got better at it. And then we started doing more street stuff. In my, I guess, early 20s, my best friend had a truck, a little square body S10. And he was pretty quick, and we started working together. We were once kind of foe, and then we started working together, and we made a pretty good team. And kind of before Street Outlaws became a thing, we were predominant in the DFW area with the street racing when it really came to life, again, because it was dead for a while. And so that's where we really put our time in, and we did that till about 2000. I think 9, somewhere around there, right before they got the TV show a couple of years later, I think. And
so that's like the OG Limpy days and Cash days and all that stuff?
Yeah. I've known Limpy for 24 years.
Oh, really?
And so actually, he may not tell the story, but I'll tell it. Before he became the great ringmaster of the street world in DFW, I whooped his ass a couple of times.
Yeah, oh, really? I knew that he flagged races. I didn't know he actually drove as well.
Oh, yeah, he used to. Yeah, he had a gray Mustang, and it was a little nitrous. I think I had a 347 in or something like that. And I had a Camaro, I had a Nova, I had a 66 shoebox back then, and a Lightning, and all kinds of stuff. And but my Camaro was his nemesis for a while.
That's pretty cool.
He scattered it one night, and the car sat dormant, and he didn't, he had kids, and this is prior to me ever having kids, and a lot of us were kidless, so he had priorities, and the car kind of went to the wayside. So, but he loved street racing, so he decided, let's organize this thing. And that was back in the forum days before there was ever a social media platform. And Chief and all those guys up there were barking. They had some pretty fast cars, so they brought them down here. We formed the Cash Days. I was in the room where the groundbreaking Cash Days was born. It was amazing, and
that's awesome.
Some of the best times of my life, really. And majority of the friends I have today are the ones I met on the street back then. So
that's pretty cool. Is like when they talk about in the show, or even Limpy himself on some of his podcast stuff, they always talk about the good old days back when, I guess really what they're saying is back then the parts were actually affordable for guys. And, you get to a point now when you got Kraken and stuff, they're knocking off, mid fours probably on the street, which is insane. Where, it's how do you figure that out? I mean, you really can't afford it. I don't know.
No. So, the thing we ran into, obviously we were 20, we were 21, 22, and, Clayton was dumping all of his money he had, which wasn't a lot. We worked at a local speed shop back then. So, we made more money on selling used parts and stuff like that, or working on somebody else's stuff, than we did working there. But we got great discounts on nitrous, and that was the only way we could go fast back then. So it worked out. Yeah. I'll tell you how long ago that was. It was $1.38 a pound back then. So
I've never ran nitrous. How much is it now?
I think it's like $4 or $5 a pound, something like that. I haven't bought it in a while. I've got 2 nitrous kits in the shop that are going on this truck and then the my kid's truck. So we'll find out real quick.
Let me pick your brain a little bit on that then. Like how many pounds do you use per pass? Like if you're like a 200 shot or something? Like a 200.
It just depends on how much you're running. So like if you're running a 150 shot, you can probably get 10 to 13 passes out of a bottle, 10-pound bottle.
That seems reasonable.
15-pound bottle, you can race a whole series with it. But you get up in the 200, 250, you probably get about 5 passes out of a 10-pound, 15-pound bottle, somewhere in there. It kind of depends. It depends on how much you're spraying. If you're spraying north of 300, you better have 15-pound bottles. You better have like 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah. You ever shot that much in anything you got?
Yeah. The little S10 we used to run. A lot of people thought we were nuts. We had a small block. It was an old dirt track motor because Clayton's granddad was an old school dirt track guy, back when circle track guys were real crazy and there were no rules really. Yeah. And so one of the motors we ran in the truck was an old dirt car motor out of a wingless Sprint. And we sprayed 400 through that on a single kit.
Oh man,
with no controller.
Yeah, that's insane. That you're basically you're probably shooting it with about as much horsepower as it came from before you shot it.
We ran a 5800 converter in that thing, and it would spin to like 9500 if you wanted it to. Yes. And on the dyno, we put it on the chassis dyno at work, and it made like 440 through that converter at like 79 or 82, somewhere in there. And it carried, but it kind of peaked and it just kind of carried out. And so we never sprayed it on the dyno. We only made it.
How much do you think like a guy like Kai Kelly spraying? Like you think of thousands? Dude, I mean, how does that even work when you're having that many kits and everything?
Some of those guys, well, I know one, like a pro nitrous guy. We used to know a couple of pro nitrous guys, and that's essentially what his setup is. Yeah. And they're spraying 1,400 horsepower with a nitrous. Yeah. You ever seen it? There's a couple of videos out there where they take one of the Hogan intakes
and spray it. Yeah.
And spray it so you can see just what it looks like, and you're like, bless America.
I'm going to grab a video snippet and put it behind us because it is pretty crazy how much air actually comes out of those intakes. But they've got like 5 kits or something. I'm assuming the kits are so they can multi-stage it in for the track. Yeah,
just stack it and use a progressive to kind of tame it.
Yeah, I don't even know where we came from here. Where were we at in your story?
Oh, we're just talking about racing. Yeah. But that's so I cut my teeth on street, and then I spent a lot. I wouldn't say I cut my teeth. I guess I cut my teeth on the track because that's really where I learned how to do things and I met people. And then I started networking back then. I could never go to the track without knowing somebody, and we did the street thing for a while, and then kids came along, and he got to the point where he was tired of spending money because the guys were getting too fast. We're talking about how it we raced guys like Ronnie Pace, and Ronnie Pace back then, he had a big tire.
Oh, barefoot Ronnie, right? Is that what they call it?
Barefoot Ronnie.
Yeah. I've seen some YouTube videos. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Ronnie's a great guy, and there for a while he was the guy to beat. I mean, I think we spanked Oklahoma's butt about 5 or 6 different times before they ever got a win. They might have snuck a win in there somewhere because I think Dave used to drive. Dave used to drive the gold car for Varley before he ever drove for Jackie, and they won one with that car, but it was because Ronnie was broke.
And you had Boosted down there with you, right? Boosted GT.
Oh yeah, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah, he's fun to watch too. I love his trash talk, man. He's good at it.
I would tell you. So I've known Chris a long time too, and me and Chris were compadres on the street, man. And I still from this time to this day, from time to time, I'll go out and grab some used tires from him because he makes like 6 passes on them, and they're still good for me. So, but he's a great guy. There was a long time where people said he was a jerk or a whatever, but he is actually a really, really good dude. He's very competitive.
Oh yeah.
And he was going to be the loudest person in the room. He may have only been 5'11", 150 pounds wet, but by the time he left, you were going to think he was 6'5" and 350.
He's fun to watch. I think out of all the people out of that show, I like Big Chief and everything just because, he seems very knowledgeable, but as far as like the amount of smack talk and the amount of getting in people's heads, that guy was like a champ at it,
Oh yeah.
If he didn't win the race, he won that battle because he always got in people's heads bad.
Well, it's like I tell my kids in sports, it's driving, playing basketball, whatever. It's 50% physical, 50% mental, right? There is the key component of having a fast car, but if you can't drive it or you can't tune it and you can't put it down to the surface you're racing, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And we won a lot of races against guys like we raced the .NET boys. They brought a car down from up there in Jersey. They brought a Firebird that ran I think back then ran some 850s, which, that was smoking fast back in the early 2000s for a street car. And they had us outgunned. I mean, we ran like low nines, on a good day. And that was us leaning on it, pretty hard. And we played the head games with them. They brought a stacker. We had an open trailer. They had a little Freightliner twin cab, and we had a 96 OBS truck with a cooler in the back full of Dirty 30 Keystones and garlic bologna log.
I love that.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
And but we won. We drew him first round, and he's like, "Of course, we're going to draw the first guy." And Clayton was one of those drivers that he would either be in the zone or he would be late. And he almost was like, "Man, I think I'll let you drive." And I'm like, I can if you want me to, but I'd rather you drive your truck, And so he drove, and I just told him, I said, "Hey, look, back then, there's a big hoopla from the show that, the Oklahoma guys will tell you, they'll say on there that, we don't do the chases the race thing. That's BS, blah, blah, blah." Well, that's actually how it was done for the longest time. And when we did cash days, it was chases a race.
That's interesting because that's a huge controversy, and that's from what the rumors or whatever. That's part of the reason that Chief left was because of all that shit. And to be honest with you, as a spectator, I don't know nothing about that world, so I'm not even trying to act like I do. Spectator wise, it doesn't seem like it's a good. It's not a fair way of saying who's fastest chases a race because there's all that mental game. Yeah. But like you were saying, if you get in somebody's head and screw with them. That's all it takes. You get it 2 cars ahead of a guy before he launches because he goes, "Oh shit, I'm late," and now he's chasing you. That may be what you need.
Yeah. And that was our advantage. So I told Clayton, I said, "Look, when you get up there, roll in because we didn't do flashlight back then either. It was all arm drop." And I said, when he brings his arms up, as soon as he brings them up, let off the button.
Yeah,
he'll chase you. He's not experienced. He's a track guy.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he went right after him, and we drug him all the way down there. And he didn't really make up a lot of real estate. Like I thought he should have made up a lot more real estate, but he didn't get on the hammer too hard because he knew he was already outgunned.
You ever seen that cartoon? It's just like a cartoon you'd see in a newspaper type of thing, but it's got a bunch of guys sitting around their really expensive race car and their stacker and stuff, and the caption is they looking at each other and go, "Man, sure, racing sure has gotten expensive." And it's like exactly what you're talking about. You don't need that. All of it's convenience, and we got that convenience. I mean, it's just how it is, what we do. But, you could show up in an open trailer and beat the brakes off somebody just as bad as you could if you brought a stacker and a big race cars and stuff. As long as you're playing the mental games and you got your shit tuned up and you can read the road, that's kind of the cool part about the street racing part. I wish they could do it in a more safe manner, but you know, that is what it is. And as long as they're being safe where nobody can get hurt outside of the actual racing part, because, you know, obviously that's a risk. You know, I like watching it on YouTube. I'm glad they're uploading it because it's good content, you know. But
it is. It is. It's great. It's you know, the thing about street racing is I think that a lot of people misconstrue is that, like, if you're racing with somebody with like Limpy, right? And I'll be honest with you, I've raced with a couple. I say race. I've gone out and helped. Like my buddy Dave's got a twin turbo Mustang, little high 4-second car, and we've gone out and helped him out. And it's somebody else running the event, and I'm very nervous the entire time because I don't know if they've got all their ducks in a row. And you know, Limpy started doing more of the track stuff because, you know, he'd been doing the street stuff forever, and he would never take a dime from it. I mean, he held a stick shift race one time, and I raced it and I runnered up in it. And I thought it was cool that he took the time to just throw a street, you know, stick shift race together because I'd been asking him for a while. And we ended up, I think we had 14 cars show up. And so when we got done, I was like, just keep the money. I don't want it. I just wanted to race. And he's like, no, I'm not keeping the money. I was like, keep the money. I don't want it. Just take it. And he's like, I'm not doing that. That's not what I'm here for. So either you take it or I'm giving it to your guy. And I was like, all right, I'll take the money. And I get why he did it because I didn't want to ever show any bias, you know. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But he was the most methodical person, and is still. I say in past tense, he still gets down. But if he's not running it, I don't want any part of it because he is the most methodical person. He finds the best roads that are the safest for us to run down. And when I say safest, like, you know, you'll see some of these guys running down streets with poles, telephone poles, mm-hmm. to the right and to the left. And, you know, look, yeah, every time you strap in, no matter whether you're on the track or on the street, you're taking a risk. But, man, you're really stacking the cards against yourself going down something like that. And you'll see people standing down the road. Limpy won't run a race. If you're not behind the line, if you're a spectator, you're not behind the line, he'll stop the racing. It's mm-hmm. done. It's not going to happen.
There's a lot of people that have a lot of respect for him for all the things you're saying.
And it's well deserved. And I honestly feel like he doesn't get enough respect or enough light shined on him. I think the Street Outlaws thing really kind of overshadowed him a bit in some ways. And it was really unfair because those guys up there would have been squat had Limpy not organized the situation.
To be fair, I feel like Big Chief gave him a lot of credit during the show as he was there. He always talked about how legendary he was and everything else. Now, as far as the other guys, I don't think they gave two shits. It didn't seem like, I mean, that may be biased or whatever, but it did seem like Big Chief talked about him a lot and, you know, gave him a lot of props during the show period. And even nowadays when he's off the show and he's got his own YouTube channel going on right now, he talks about him every once in a while, and you know it's pretty cool that a guy like Big Chief can respect Limpy. I mean that's an honor as far as I'm concerned, you know, for
100%, man. Chief is, I've said it 100 times. You'll hear people say all the time, I don't like Chief. You know, he's really into himself, or he's a kind of a, you know.
Well, he's definitely that.
Yeah, I'm like, look, he's actually one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. He's a really good guy, and I'm telling you, when we would go up there, like when we did the first cash days here. When we went up there for the second one, so it was like it turned out one of those deals where we're like, hey, we'll hold the first cash days, fastest 16, you'll take your fastest 8, we'll take our fastest 8, we'll run you, and we'll call it the Battle of the Red River or whatever, you know. And so Chief was like, hey, let's hold the next one up here. And so we went up there to Oklahoma, and we had just made a bunch of changes to the truck, and we really needed to test, and we ran out of time to test. And so I asked Chief, I was like, hey, man, you got a spot where we can test tonight before the race? He goes, tonight? We go right now. I was like, what? It's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He goes, it's all good, man. I got you. We made a couple of phone calls, closes down the road. We made 2 hits down the road in the middle of the day. Yeah. It was on a 2-lane highway, you know, and he didn't know us from the hole in the ground, really. I mean, they'd come down for the first one, but they didn't really know us. And we hung out with them all day. They took us some good places to eat, got us some nitrous, you know, like. They wanted whoever was going to come and compete to be on their A game too, because they wanted good racing. They wanted to know who was the fastest on the street, you know, and that's really what it was all about for the longest time. And now it seems like, you know, with social media, a lot of guys are just all about trying to build their brand. Hey, follow me. I go street racing and I do stuff with my cool turbo LS car, you know, like back then it was like, it was different, you know. There were a couple of us that butted heads, but for the most part, we were a family. And when we went to go, we race each other here all the time. But when we went to go race out of town, man, we were locked and cocked, and we were like one group. And I don't know if it's like that now. It doesn't seem like it is. And, with my buddy still, in that scene somewhat, it's definitely different. And so I understand what they say when they say they miss the OG days.
As far as like what makes good television, they figured out that it's the drama, and that's what it turned more into than anything. And I mean, you could almost from the get, because the first few seasons, they had like IndyCar noises over top of the cars. I don't know if you.
So bad.
It was terrible. So if you go back and watch them, it's just awful. It's just like an IndyCar just went by. It didn't even sound like a drag car at all. Yeah, exactly. It was just silly. But then they it seemed like they bought into the car side of it for, a couple seasons or whatever. And then it turned into what can make the most drama. And if you look at people that are coming up, but the show, the Outlaws, Street Outlaws, kind of went away because MPK kind of took its place, which, it is what it is. I think as far as Discovery, they figured out a way of making a lot of money in two different places, because they have the crowd money and they have the money on the TV side of it all. So they're double dipping there, and they figured out a good rhythm for that. And to be respectful to that, I kind of like watching that too. That's kind of neat.
Oh yeah,
and they're a little bit more obtainable not obtainable as far as you can get one of those cars. But what I'm saying is, you could go to a track and watch them and actually get close to what they're doing. As a fan, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I can respect what they're doing. And besides any of that, no matter what you think about all those group of people, they're putting ass in seats. They're exposing the area that's our passion. That honestly, if they weren't around, I don't know where we would be, because it was dying as far as I'm concerned, as far as drag racing is concerned. I'm not saying the sport's ever going to die out, but it definitely wasn't on a high climactic. Exactly. Yeah. It wasn't in the 70s and 80s where people actually showed up and they had their favorite drivers and stuff like that. All that was kind of going away. It was only the people that were passionate that were showing up. Nowadays, you're getting more ass in seats for normal shows. We run with a group that, Nostalgia Racing, and there's a couple events we go to, they're packed houses. And I don't know if it would be or not if they didn't have exposure, if their kids didn't say, hey, I want to see a 60s Camaro go fast. And oh, well, I know of a race, let's go to it. So exactly. I can appreciate that. But as far as what has happened to what Street Outlaws was to what it is now, as far as MPK and all that stuff, I think it's, as far as the show is concerned, it's more about who can make somebody upset the most so we can get more view hours. So I don't think it's really grasping what it used to be, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe wrong, I don't know, but I don't think.
I mean, I can understand and agree with what you're saying. I used to watch it religiously. It was cool because when it first came on, I had heard wind, and I'll speak to it, but I don't know 100% how true it is. But they had approached DFW first about doing a show, and it was asked, to the OG guys, like, hey, do you want to do something like this? This could change, our roads. It could change, where we do things. And it was more of a, well, I don't really care about that. I don't want it to ruin what we do, and they got passed on to them, and, and they've done a fantastic job with it. I think that it brought, like, for my kid personally, right. So, you don't ever want to be the guy who's always talking about stuff you used to do. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's why I've always tried to stay involved in it in some form or fashion, even if I'm not running a car, or I don't have anything super fast right now or whatever, because it's always been my life. And I want to teach my kid what that's about. And he was really interested in it from the get-go. And so we watched the show all the time, and the indie stuff was killing me. I was like, God, this is not how this is done. You see all the staged road and the lamps, and you're just like, this is kind of, I know it's a show, it's a TV show, so you can't do it the real way. And I get that, but man, it was tough to watch the first couple of seasons. But, and there's a couple of guys that got in there that were not a part of the group originally. And, and one of them in particular is like a little chihuahua, always barking, and it's annoying. And he was annoying, when he would hang around from time to time. So I didn't really like that, but it did a lot for my kid. I got my kid involved in it, and he loved it, and it fueled the fire for him. And so, like, his first birthday, we had a Street Outlaws party, and I tried to invite some of the guys out. I knew they were busy. I'm like, hey, if you're in the area, can you come by and bring a race car or something? And Michael Hollis, student driver who's been on there a few times. He brought his Nova out, and we had a few hot rods come over, and they were taking kids for rides, and he was ecstatic,
Yeah,
and I'm
so
like,
cool.
a 4-year-old wants a Street Outlaws birthday party. How cool is that, man?
I'm not sure how we got from who you are to all these Street Outlaw guys. I'm not hating on it. I just
No. It's kind of comes full circle about like to where I am now, and where I am now is that, and I was a part of that. It was awesome, and I'm still friends with a lot of them, and it was the greatest time of my life. But now, and I say greatest time of my life, car related, right? It was probably one of the peaks. But now it's fixing to peak differently, and I'm a dad now. I've got a 12-year-old and I've got a 9-year-old, both boys. And I kind of gave up hot rods when he sold the truck. I got out of my stuff and I just focused on being a dad. And that lasted for about 2 years, and I was going insane. And I bought an 03 Cobra. I found one. I'd always wanted one when they came out. I found one. It was nice. It was clean, and it was affordable, and I did it. And I was like, I'm going to leave it alone. Nope. That lasted 10 minutes. Solid axle, swapped it. And then I started going after the stock blower, stock 6-speed record, and got real close to it. And I was racing every weekend, it seemed like, and every stick shift race there was, I was getting into it. And then I had a really good friend of mine have a bad wreck at Yellow Belly in 2016, and it killed him. And he was 23 years old, and it was all over the news here. It was a bad deal, and he was as street as it gets. He was an OG. He was an old soul for a young guy. And man, when that happened, it kind of pulled the rug out from underneath of us, because he was the little brother of another friend of ours, and he's just always been around. And so we pumped the brakes, and I thought, man, I need to quit doing this, because it's not a matter of if, it's when. It's like riding a motorcycle, bicycle, skates, anything, right? So I sold the car, got out of it, and then I kind of got into, let's just do some old school cruisers and things like that. And then, one day my buddies are sitting around and we're like, we're building my buddy's Camaro. It's got a 632 in it. And then we had a Mustang sitting next to it. It was the other friend that worked on the cars together. We had his car there. It was a little turbo Mustang, and we were having some fun one night. And I was like, I filmed putting that Mustang together, because it had been a long journey for him. He had gone through a divorce and stuff, and we were kind of just keeping him busy, And we got the car done, and I made a little video on my phone just for the three of us, because we'd been friends forever. And I made it like a Western. It was the weirdest thing, but it was car related, And I talked with this weird voice. It was annoying, and but they loved it. And when we got done with it, it took me a month to edit it, And when we got done, they were like, "Man, dude, you need to start a YouTube channel," And I'm like, "What? Nobody's going to care about this. This is for us." And so we started the channel, and we just filmed whatever we were doing with car stuff, and that kind of fueled my fire. Let's do more, and let's push let's get back into it, Ryan. So I built a Malibu, a G body, and I built a pretty nice 13.5-to-1 468 solid roller. There's an old rear Morrison engine that a friend of mine had in an index car, and I was like, I'm going to put Holly EFI on this thing, a tunnel ram, and I'm going to put it on the street on the 85, and then we're going to go.
I think you sent a picture of that, didn't you? Because I wanted to. I don't think Chris has seen that yet. Look at that guy.
Oh yeah.
yeah. That's the Mike Honcho Malibu.
Mike Honcho, yes.
Yeah, I saw that. I said, "What in the tunnel ram is this?" That's pretty awesome. It's a cool looking car, though. I mean, I don't know how you tuned it. That's unfair.
It was not easy. I didn't do it. My buddy Dave did. I put him through hell with that. But
my dad's got stories where he tried to tune tunnel rams and it just never worked out for him. He could never get it right.
I tell you what, dude, we got to figure it out, man. We got to figure it out. And it worked really, really well. I was just coming around on that car, actually. And, I don't know about you guys, but, we're car guys, right? And every car guy has an addiction and an issue. We all have issues. Mm-hmm. And it's either it's not fast enough, it's not shiny enough, or, it could have been better if I'd have done this, or let's start over. And I built that car twice, and that was the second rendition. And it got less and less street and became more of I'm working on this thing all the time. And me and my son went from going out and cruising and getting ice cream and doing burnouts and whipping around corners and, being arrogant, and to him sitting around going, Dad, when are you going to get the car fixed? And
I guarantee when you slap that tunnel ram on, your fuel just went straight down.
that and the E85, I think I got in that. I think we checked it once. We drove it, and we drove it for a good bit. And I think I got on E85, I think I got 92 miles to the 17-gallon tank.
That's really not that bad, though. Honestly,
it's not horrible.
I mean, that's a rare. That was a rare Morrison motor. That's probably pretty big cubic inch, right? Would you say it was?
That was actually a 468. It was an old index motor. Yeah, it made like 723 on a single Dominator on race on alcohol on the engine.
We sit around and say 468. It ain't that big. But back in like the 90s, it's massive. Granted, nowadays they got 949. Pat Musey motors and stuff, but our big mountain motors or whatever. And but still,
when Sean Wilhoit first came out, Sean Wilhoit is a special kind of guy. He wasn't a great driver.
Yeah.
Okay. And I used to give him a lot of crap.
Are we going to go on record saying that?
Yeah, we can go on record saying that. He still can't drive. He's a nice guy, but he can't drive. But anyway, I remember the first time he had a red 62 Nova and had a 565 in it. And I remember going, dude, 565?
Jesus.
How the hell are we going to compete with this?
Yeah.
But he's no driving some gun. So
Well, what's crazy is they got 450, 454 small blocks now. I mean,
dude, they got a new 500 plus cubic inch small
it's
block.
insane. I mean, obviously there's probably a spread port stuff or larger wider cylinder center lines or whatever, but still to have it in a small block platform is just crazy.
Yeah. Dude, it's nuts.
I would say in the 90s, I have a 421 on my truck, and in the 90s, that's probably not that heard of really either. I mean, that's kind of relatively new. 434s are pretty popular as well. And you can get you can just get those now. You can just call up, name your company. Yeah. They can just give it to you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's really come around. And that's where it kind of got with my car. As I was like, man, it's really gotten away from what I want. And I thought about redoing it, but then I was like, maybe it's time to move on from it and let's start over. And I found this guy that had this truck that I'm currently sitting in, and we struck a deal. And in hindsight, I probably should have spent a little more time mulling it over, but it was just a bone stock truck. Because my son, he's got a YouTube channel himself, and it's called Hot Rodding with Jake, and he's building his S10. He's got a square body S10.
Yeah, we saw that in the pictures.
He sacked his money back and bought that himself. Negotiated the deal at 9 years old. And I made a video about it, and it was awesome.
All right, two fruit snacks, and next week's lunch.
He was a tough guy because the guy thought he was going to be dealing with me, and I was like, well, this is the guy you're dealing with here, and he's like, and,
you say you got a video of that? Did you upload it? Like the actual?
Yeah.
Is it on his channel?
It's on my channel.
On your channel, okay.
Before he started his, and but yeah, it was pretty awesome because the guy wanted $800, and my kid went over there and chopped him down at $600. And the guy's wife stepped in and said, for $625, you got a truck. So
got cut off with the legs by a 9-year-old.
It was not a good day for negotiations around that house.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
Well, hey, we want to talk about your upcoming race. So let's go ahead and take a break, and then we'll get back at it. Our special guest today is Ryan Wing, and he's putting on the Tailgate Throwdown. So right after break, we'll talk to him about that.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And we're back with our special guest, Ryan Wing, putting on the Tailgate Throwdown. Ryan, why don't you tell us a little bit about what this is exactly?
Do you like trucks?
We love trucks.
This sounds like a commercial. Here we go. The Tailgate Throwdown.
You ever go to a racetrack and say, man, I'm tired of seeing all these things with trunks?
Yeah, all these cars.
Yeah. Well, so the Tailgate Throwdown is, I'll give you a quick gist. It was 3 friends sitting on the crapper at the same time, texting each other back and forth about how one of us should build a turbo 305 to race the other guy's 339 stroker on nitrous and shift them with the SM465s and see what happens. It sounds like a crackhead thought it up, and it kind of was. And so
There was cracks involved.
Yeah. So we decided, you know what, let's set a date, because the other guys in Missouri, me and Dave are here, and like, hey, let's set a date. We'll meet up. We'll do it. You know, give us 3 months to put the truck together. We'll slam it together, and we'll go do it for content. And then it was like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should get a couple other guys we've raced with before at like a No Name National event that we went to last year or the year before, and they're YouTubers. I'm like, yeah, let's get them together. So we started a little message board, a little message group on Facebook, and then next thing you know, like, hey, can I add so and so to the group? Like, yeah, sure. And then more and more people get added, and then we thought about it, and we're like, man, there's like 15 people that want to do this. I'm like, well, you know what? Let's get out of the chat area because it's too confusing. I'll start a little private group, and we'll just do everything there. And then, you know, it was like, hey man, can I add this guy? Hey, can I add this guy? I'm like, yeah, add whoever you want. If they want, yeah. And then it turned into, okay, now we've got a lot of people that want to go do this thing. So we've got to actually put a race together, you know? Mm-hmm. And so I was trying to look for a place to do it. And, you know, here in DFW, we've got some really good tracks. We've got XRP, we've got Texas Motorplex, we've got what's the other one? I don't know, I'm forgetting. Yeah, we got Yellow Belly, which, you know, that'd be tough to put on an event there. That's a different scenario. But
you got to be a real man to race at Yellow Belly. Have you ever seen a YouTube videos from them?
It's an awesome place.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
You never seen the Belly?
Is that's not the one with where you're kind of like indoors feeling?
No, yeah, it kind of feels like you're indoors. Yeah. There's the stands and parking's right
on the track side. Almost. Yeah, I have seen it. Yes,
big chain link fence going down.
Yeah,
it's a special place, dude. It's a place. But
cool.
You know, so we've got some places to do it. But you know, the problem is they cost a lot of money, and you know, when you approach somebody with an event like this, you're like, I don't know how this is going to go. It could be 10 truck show up. It could be 200 truck show. I don't know, you know, and I've never done this before. And I've talked about putting on a race for 4 years, and I've gotten really close. I really want to do a drag and drive. I actually have a really cool idea for a drag and drive. I had the idea before everybody started doing drag and drives. Mm-hmm. So now there's like 60 drag and drives, but I went on Rocky Mountain Race Week a few years ago. And that's where I met Chad Reynolds. And, you know, me and him have been brainstorming for a while about a sweet drag and drive, but we're just not quite there yet with it. And because that's going to take a certain amount of sponsorships. But I had already approached some tracks locally here to find out what's it going to be for one day, right? And I kept getting told $10,000 and $12,000. And I thought, okay, well, we're not doing that here. So, you know, the problem was like, where are we going to do this at? And will a track allow us to do it in whatever their program is that night, you know? And so I tapped my friends outside of Texas. And I don't know if you guys ever heard of George Ray's in Arkansas. It's kind of like Yellow Belly, old historic track. And I thought, man, it'd be really cool to do it there. And so I talked to my buddy that races there quite often. He's like, well, they went through new ownership change and this, that, and the other. So I don't know if it's going to be the same. And I was like, eh. And so another fellow piped up and he's like, what about Newport? And I'm like, I never heard of Newport. And he goes, it's a racetrack I go to from time to time. It's an old airstrip. And I was like, well, that sounds like a fitting place for the Tailgate Throwdown. And I said, you know, do you know the guy? And he goes, yeah. And so he got me in contact with Scott. We did a 3-way call. I told him what the idea was. And Scott's like, tell me a date. You got a spot.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, well, what's it going to cost me? And he goes, if you don't want to get paid off of it, we'll just have the event. We'll do the gate fee at $25. And if you guys do buy-ins, they got to buy into the race. I was like, what? He goes, 25 gets a tech card. You got the date if you want it. And I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah, sounds pretty cool.
So we got a spot, and he has been absolutely awesome. Guy's super, super nice, very informative, very helpful. And so it just kind of started growing. People started inviting people. And that's kind of the way, you know, it's like I like something that's natural, right? And I don't like to force things. There's a lot of people that put on events and they shove it down your throat to the point you're like, God dang, if I see one more promo video, I'm going to throw up. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I want it to be, you know, euphoric or organic is the word I'm looking for. And because I want it to be a good time. I don't want it to be about, I want people to be competitive. I want people to come out and race, but I want people to enjoy it, because I think sometimes what I've noticed in the last few years is at events that I go to is that either the event's too big for the time allotted and it runs too long, and it stops being so much fun as it is exhausting. And then on the flip side of that, with as much back of the track racing that's going on, and no prep stuff is huge. There's a lot, like you were saying, a lot of drama that goes on with it. And to me, like, I was a non-drama guy. It was put up or shut up, and let's have some fun. And we always helped each other. And so I thought, man, let's do this. Let's see if we can get as many trucks as we can to pile into a track and have the biggest truck race that I've ever seen put on, period.
Nice.
And that's what we're going to try to do. Now, I don't know if it'll do it this time. I hope so. But if it goes good enough and people enjoy themselves and they want to come back, then we're going to do it again.
There was a lot of interest online. I mean, you made a public page, and within a couple weeks, you already had 230 guys on there interested in it. So I think you're going to have some turn up. What is the date and location again?
So it's April 27th. It's at Newport Raceway. I'm sorry, I always say Dragway, but it's Newport Raceway in Newport, Arkansas. I talked to Scott, the track owner, and told him, hey, let's do a 1-day deal for this one. Next year, I'd like to do a 2-day deal. And I'd actually like to incorporate a truck show as well, because he's got a lot of space. And so that'd be cool to have like a truck show and a drag race. And I'm not going to handle the truck show portion of it. I've got some people that I know that do show stuff, and I'm going to try to work with them, see if they want to put something on. But he was like, you get here Friday if you want. You guys can camp out. We usually don't run a program on Friday. We usually do Saturday, Sundays. But if you guys have enough guys that want to show up and they want to kick $20 to me so I can cover the insurance, I'll kick the lights on and they can test. I'm like, okay, cool. And so the way I see it right now, the way we're talking about things is it looks like 9 a.m. gates open. I'll probably do some early tech on Friday from like 4 to 6. People get there early, want to go ahead and get their sticker, get everything set up so they're ready to go on Saturday. It's great. So we'll probably do that. And then Saturday from 9 to 11, we'll be doing tech again. We'll open the track up for testing from like 10 to 12. So the track will go hot during tech. And then we'll do a driver's meeting, hopefully around 12:15, 12:45, somewhere in that range. And I'd like to try to have, in the lanes, classes in the lanes ready to go hot by 1:30.
That's all on Saturday, correct?
Yeah. And then what we're going to do is there's a lot of guys that want to do some grudge racing. So one of the biggest mistakes I see made at big events is allowing grudge racing between rounds. And that usually ends up in carnage and messes to clean up. So there will be no grudge racing during the class racing. Yeah. Grudge racing happens at the end. There's a bunch of guys that want to do tow pig racing. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, whatever. As long as it's trucks, man. As long as it's got tailgate.
My toter's considered a truck.
Yeah, that's true.
It is.
Bust out one of those 25-second eighth miles.
Yeah. So when we threw it together originally, it was like, hey, let's do this. Is mainly a street truck deal, but as it grew, and more people with faster trucks want to get involved. So we started a class called, the Outlaw class, and then we have a street full-size class. We have a full-size stick shift class, and then we have a mini street. And the street classes are naturally aspirated classes, and I've already gotten a lot of kick in the backside for that. And there was a reason behind that, because the majority of the guys that wanted to come, they didn't run power adders. And so I was like, well, let's just keep it simple, But as time went on, I realized that we have a large gap between the street and the Outlaw guys. So we opened up a small tire class, and the small tire class is a little different. It's I don't want to cloud it with rules. That was the main thing. I don't want it to be like this. You got to have a rule sheet this long, and then I've got to have a team of people making sure you fit all the rules. I mean, if you have a truck that's fast, you should have some type of safety equipment in it. And I've been asked that, do I need this? Do I need that? I'm like, I'm not an IHRA or NHRA official. I know that's an IHRA track. So, is he going to be hard on people? I can't say. I don't know. It's not my track. But I do know that if you're going fast, you need to protect yourself, because I want people to remember the Tailgate Throwdown for being an awesome event, not that place where that one dumbass died. So right. I want to make it as safe as we can make it. But when it comes to, rules for the class, I mean, Well, Outlaw is what it is. You run what you brung, chassis truck, back half truck, whatever.
Everything's heads up.
Yeah, everything's heads up. It's going to be a no time deal. 400s Pro Tree. No instant green, no flashlight stuff. And not going to light the boards because I know there's going to be some guys that are grudge guys that want to come and do their thing, and I respect that. So, but on the small tire class, I went back and forth on it, and I'm like, you know what, we're gonna do it like this: stock style suspension. If it's a leaf spring truck, it's got to have leaf springs. If it's if it's a coil spring truck, it's got to have coil springs. You can have Caltrax, you can have shocks, you can do all that stuff, but it's got to be stock style, 28-10-5, ASAG, all steel, all glass, except for hood and back glass, obviously for roll cages. And, other than that, it's free game. You got a twin Namasaki Turbo LS, then fine. If you got a, 705 tall deck, with big chief heads, okay, cool, whatever. If you can make it go down, more power to you.
So your tire size is the limiting rule in that, basically.
Yeah, tire size in the style of suspension.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is style of suspension, which that may kick a lot of the guys into the outlaw class itself.
It may, but I've had some guys with like LSA trucks, get on and send me some messages. I can drive my truck to the track and I can race it all day, and that's a street truck. I'm like, yeah, I get it, but it makes 1,000 horsepower. So it's not fitting these rules. So
let's go to the street classes. The basic rules in there is no power adder. I got that. All steel, all glass as well. Correct.
Yep.
And
got to have exhaust. At least past the cab. Okay. Your typical real street truck situation, not something that you drive on the street that if you got pulled over, you might get a few tickets.
Like mufflers? No mufflers, doesn't matter.
Yeah, you don't have to have them because technically, if you got a weak motor, you can run no mufflers, but I would prefer, exhaust, typical exhaust. If it's dumped or whatever, it's fine, but if you have Caltrax on it, you can have Caltrax on it, things of that nature. But, basically a pure muscle class is basically what I was thinking.
All right. And then you have that, and then you also have a stick class, truck stick. And that's going to be basically the same rules as the street class, but you have to have a stick, correct?
Actually, the only rule in that class is it's H pattern, clutch assisted, no face plates.
Okay. And then, but let's just say somebody might have like a magnet for their clutch so they can use a line lock button or something like that. You okay with any of that? I mean, that's the thing is like, where do you limit it? There's going to be some loopholes, and that's where when I designed it in my head, my thought was I'm not guaranteeing payout. So this isn't going to be like a blood fest, but we have since got some sponsorships, and I thought, well, we'll make small tire and outlaw buy-in only, and we'll draw chips so that you're the person that draws your destiny, no spinning of the wheel or anything like that. And, but as far as like, things of that nature, if you got a black magic clutch or something like that, that's pretty smart, but as long as it's H pattern and it's not face plated and you've got to actually jam the gate, good to go. Sweet.
Yep.
And then, the next class after that would be your, small tire, which we just talked about.
And then mini, right?
And then, I forgot about mini. You have a
mini street. Yeah. Mini street is the same rules as full size. I just did that because, a lot of full size guys are like, well, S10's already got 1,000-pound brake on me.
So you're talking S10, you're talking Tacoma, you're talking about any of the
Dodge
Mazda.
D50.
Yeah. All those type of smaller trucks, naturally aspirated, all steel, all glass. And then the street rules apply basically. And then after that, you step it up to the small tire, which we talked about again, 28-10-5s. Rear suspension has to be whatever came factory to that truck. And then after that, you get into Outlaws, which that's the one that when we make it down there, that's what we're going to have to run in because I don't meet any of the rules for everything else.
You're back. Are you a tube chassis or are you back?
Yeah, well, it's a box tube chassis. I did that originally so I could run. So a lot of people will say that your bottom rails, if they're boxed, it's still a factory style suspension, so you can still run factory frame. But looking back on it now, I should have just went ahead and went
There's
tube all the way.
there's nothing factory
I built
about
my own
that.
chassis, so I might as well have went the other way. I just tried to fit more rules when I built my truck so I could go to the different races and stuff.
Different things, yeah.
But to be quite honest with you, I never make it to any of those races anyway. And every time I try to, I'm in the Outlaws anyway. So it doesn't. I've weighted about 200 extra pounds for no reason. But nonetheless, it's plus, I could run a 28-10-5, no problem. What I got on there right now is 29.5, 10.5, something like that. So it wouldn't be any issue to switch over to 28-10.5 if I wanted to try for that, but I don't have a stock suspension. So I'm outlaw. So you're going to see me on big tire. That's
all right. Well, I like big tires.
And that's no holds bar, whatever you bring. If you can get it down and win, that's it. And that's going to be the payout, and that's going to be the buy-in. And is it that 100% payout, or is there a payout to the track, or
80-20 split?
80-20 split, which I think is very fair. Very fair.
Yeah. 80-20 split and small tire and outlaw. And the track said that if he gets enough gate, he may toss some more on top of the classes.
Yeah. Well, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. I think you're being pretty modest. I think there's a lot of interest in this, and I don't know, our local test and tune nights, there's probably, probably a quarter of them are trucks. And there's not an event just for trucks.
And the other 3/4 are Fox bodies. So it's
that's true. That's true. And the only other race in the country that I know of is there's the Southeast Drag Trucks. They have something goes on every year. It's a pretty good size event. But that's it. That's the only ones I know of is you guys and that. So it'll be every race usually has maybe sometimes stuff for trucks.
Yeah.
But not an event dedicated to it.
Yeah, the whole event. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. I think you're going to have a lot of interest. And the cool thing is you're pretty centrally located in the country. You could have some people come from Carolinas and all that stuff, and it's not that big a drive. We'll be coming from the Louisville area. So, it's only, I think we calculated like 7 hours, 8 hours.
Just something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So when I was approached about it, that was one of my questions, and we talked about kind of the progression of all this, was what was the payout? Because, it's going to be hard for me to justify driving 7 hours if there wasn't some carrot in front of me that I may be able to win, $800 for the fuel. Because that's what we'll be spending in diesel to get down there. But now that you have something there, I mean, it's cool. Now, obviously, being your first year, you don't know what's going on there, so there's no guaranteed payout. But I think you have to trust the process and see how this event is going, and make sure you sign up to all the socials that is going to be linked down below, and check out how this thing progresses, because I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. This is coming out February 4th.
Yeah.
So you're going to have roughly 3 months to get your shit together and come on down there and get her done. I think it's going to be really fun. I think it's going to be interesting. And the first year of anything is you're always going to have some stuff. One of the things that you have going on the page is you don't want crybabies, or I forget exactly how you worded it, but do you want to elaborate on that?
Oh yeah, I can. It's the most important rule of the event. Yeah, I think it encompasses everything that we all agree upon when it comes to racing. If there's too much of. So, the last rule, final rule, is don't be a crybaby bitch. This is just a good time at a cool track with a ton of trucks. Okay, if you cry, go ahead and pack up, because I'm going to give you a DNF, and I'm calling your mom because she's going to be very disappointed. And there's going to be a lot of cameras and a lot of YouTube channels around there, so you don't want to look like a jackass.
You'll be paparazzi'd.
That's right. That's right. But I've got some cool stuff planned too. Like I've got some trophies we're making. We're going to be giving those away, and then I haven't announced it yet, but we'll announce it here. Why not?
All right.
Fastest ET is going to get a special surprise.
Ooh.
Fastest ET of the weekend gets a special surprise.
That's going to be cool. Now, we haven't talked about track service. I know you said it was a you don't want to say it is a abandoned airstrip. Is that kind of the deal?
I think it's still active on
airstrip. So do jets ETs matter? No, nonetheless.
I don't know. Maybe we should have a jet class.
That it may be the equalizer in this. I don't know. I've never heard of the track. I just kind of Google mapped it. It seems like there's some rubber down. I think you should be able to get down it. I mean, what do you think? Maybe what do you, if you wanted to be fastest ET, what are you thinking? Maybe where we looking at?
I think the fastest ET there. Now, I have to say I've never been there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and this is going to be a learning curve for me as well. I have had people that I know have gone there, and I do know that some of them in a low six car ran like a 120 60 foot. So
Okay.
I've heard it's sticky, and I've heard it's not. So, I didn't really want to go the no prep route, but he said he'll spray it, and I don't think he's not going to drag it. I don't think he has a tractor to drag it. So, I think he's going to spray it. So in my mind, I think this is just me spitting it out there. I think the fastest ET is going to be somewhere around 560.
That's pretty good. I would say this. I know some guys that are running turbos, and this is cars on drag radial, that like a 127 60 foot and was able to pull off like a 530.
Yes.
So,
and I would 60 foot's there.
If I had to guess, whoever's going to be fastest ET is probably going to be a turbo car, just traction management standpoint. A guy like me that's, I've got a mechanical injection setup made for a fully prepped track. So, I'll be pulling a ton of timing and probably dumping a bunch of raw fuel in it to try to slow it down in the very beginning. But I'm going to be, those big blower guys like me it's going to be limited to what they can take away from the car. But turbo guys, man, they just hit up arrows and down arrows, little boop boops, and they got it going on,
But the thing of it is what I've heard is that sometimes the 60's there and the 330 isn't. So
that's fair. Yeah. If you got some big bumps down there, that could definitely upset some cars.
Yeah, I from what I've watched a bunch of videos, and I've looked it over pretty heavily, and I've seen some cars go pretty fast out there, and I've also seen some people blow their tires off. So, it's like any other race. You can go to a really well prepped track, and I say this all the time. Like a lot of time, the biggest concern about, the biggest issue with, whining and bitching and complaining is after the fact, and it's always, well, that surface was crappy. That surface. And so me being a street racer, it always annoys me because I'm like, listen. I'm used to, being in a situation where you got to race the road, and the road may change 3 times in the night, right? You might start on concrete, but end up on asphalt.
Yeah.
So to me, that's part of the challenge of going fast is learning where you're at, checking your DA, making sure your tune-up's right, and then, put the right amount of clicks in the shocks, and that's why we're going to open up some testing, because I don't know what it's like, and you're not going to know what it's like, and there's a lot of people that probably don't know what it's like there's going to be some locals there that probably already know how to handle the situation.
We're going to be localed by the homies, or homies by the locals.
Let's hope not. That's right. So in the way I see it is you open up for 2 hours, give everybody a chance to test. It's going to be in the heat of the day. So from what I understand, temperatures that time of year are usually in the low 70s. So, air quality is going to probably be good. Track won't be over hot. If we got some good sun that day, it'll probably be warm enough to come around. And they're also Limpy's doing a race there the weekend before. So
there'll be some rubber down.
There'll be some rubber down.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I think it'll be a good spot to swing at it. I think that it's the proper facility because, it's going to make great video for people if they want to video their stuff. It's going to be a really cool environment. So,
well, I tell you how much me and Chris believe in this. We talked about this prior to having you on, and we've decided that we wanted to sponsor it, at least a portion of it. So you can make us on board. We're going to sponsor maybe a class or however you guys want to divvy it up. But we're going to send you some cash so that you can get what you need to get in order to make this thing happen, because we believe in it. I think it's going to be cool.
It's exciting.
Yeah. So expect that. Yep. So the Line Lock podcast is on board, and Blood Brothers Racing hopefully will take it in the Outlaw race.
Yeah.
So I have some bunch of big changes I got to do to my truck before I can get down there. I'm hoping I can get them done. I don't foresee that being an issue, but things come up. It happens.
Well, I'm currently sitting in my truck that doesn't run yet. It's got to be, it's not done.
So maybe we both need some encouragement on this thing.
Yeah. I haven't made a YouTube video in about 2 weeks. I'm extending my shop. I've got wiring going on, and then I'm waiting on the spray foam guy, and then the wiring's got to go in, and then maybe I can get it back in there and get it finished. So.
All right, cool. How about at this time, we're going to give you an opportunity to thank all the people that helped you out, and then, whatever you want to plug in as far as your socials. I've watched some of your videos. They're great. So make sure anybody that's watching this, go watch them. But plug all that stuff. Thank everybody you need to thank, and we'll quit taking up all your time.
Well, I appreciate that. So first of all, I got to thank my wife because she puts up with my crazy butt, right? And she lets me do the things that I do and supports it. So I thank her first and foremost. But Chad from Square Body Stuff at YouTube. Go watch him. He's a really good how-to guy, but if you like square bodies, he's your guy. My buddy Dave, he's really a driver behind me, gives me a lot of positive reinforcement, and I appreciate him. Davis Glass Company, they got on board too, and I appreciate them. And appreciate you guys, because really the way I look at it is, let's just create an awesome environment that we can keep coming back to and everybody enjoys. And I think that it will continue to grow and be something really special.
Absolutely.
It was a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step, right? So you're taking the step, you're taking the leap here, and we believe in it. And I think it's going to be awesome.
I appreciate it. And I actually have one other person to thank, and I always forget, and that's my son Jake. He's my right-hand man.
Mm-hmm. I think we got a picture of him, right? You sent me one.
Yep.
We'll make sure that he's
Getting
behind
hard
us.
to work on his truck. Yep.
Behind us right there.
There he is. Yeah.
We'll make sure he's on here. We'll cool Jake, and don't ever try to buy anything from me, Jake. It's not for sale. I ain't giving it to you, son.
All
right, Ryan, man, it has been a really fun time talking with you. We didn't expect to go into that Street Outlaw stuff. That was kind of really cool to hear your side of everything, and then the obviously we're excited about that tailgate throwdown. So you can expect us there, provided we get all our ducks in a row, which I think we will. And then again, we hopefully we'll see a great event. You know, maybe if we can't make it with the truck, maybe we'll go down there anyway.
It'd be awesome. And that's anybody listen. If you don't have your truck ready, I understand times are tough.
Yeah,
I get it. I understand we're living in the worst economy ever. I get it. I feel it just like everybody else does. But if you can't get your truck together, at least come down, pay the gate fee, come in and enjoy yourself, and help a small track.
And that's the thing. We need cars, but we also need spectators. So we got to show up and show up for the event so that the spectators will pay the track a little bit and make sure that he wants us to come back again, because it's very important.
That's what it's all about.
And then again, we got to support all our local tracks. So make sure you're doing that as well, because they are closing down by the month anymore. We had two of them closed down last month.
Yeah.
I-64 Motorplex, and there was another one.
Yeah.
It's not good. We got to continue to support our local businesses and our local tracks. So, all right, Ryan, man, we appreciate the hell out of it. We'll probably have you on again right before it, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
To see what the finalized everything is, and then what to expect. We are going to share all the stuff that you come out with about this on our stuff, and to make sure that we try to help you promote this as best we can.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, fellas. Thank you so much.
All right, man. Ryan, have a good night, man.
You too.
All right.
Man, that was a good conversation.
Yeah, very, very in depth. It was really good stories there.
I don't know. We were coming and going, and then we went over here and went back there.
Yeah.
And it was a good time, man. He was a very interesting guy. Make sure that you check out the links below and follow him on all his socials.
Yeah.
Follow the Facebook page. And I don't know who the hell is backing up in the
There's somebody backing up in the driveway.
I'm bound to bet it's probably an Amazon truck. I'm trying to look at the security cameras. Somebody's dropping something off.
Yeah, I thought it was my car alarm. I'm sitting there going, my keys. I'm like, is it my alarm?
Let's hope it's that Ford 9-inch I've been waiting on.
Hey, that would be nice. Yes. Yeah.
All right. Cool, man. You got anything?
Yeah, just let's go back to saying that, hey, if you guys have any comments or anything and want to write us, want to talk to us, have any questions about the Tailgate Throwdown or anything we talk about, email us at linelockedpodcast@gmail.com. If you are listening to us on Spotify or iTunes or anything like that, and you want to actually see the videos of this, just come to YouTube and go to the Blood Brothers Racing channel, and that's where Line Locked Podcast resides at the current moment. And we'd love to have you on there.
I tell you what, this sumbitch back here, he's doing a 15-point turn.
Yes.
My driveway ain't that big.
You want to see if he wants an interview?
No, you know what it is? It sounds like me trying to get the toter home and trailer in.
Yes. Forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards.
Hey, man, 85 foot long is a long rig to try to get into a 2-lane driveway.
With trees and buildings and everything in there, yes. And
what the hell is he doing?
We need to go get him and talk to him.
We need to end this thing before it gets any worse.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right.
We're out. And
you are fake news.
I don't know what that was about. All right, we're getting out of here.
Label the buttons. Damn it.
We're
Label the buttons. All right. I'm Chris.
And I'm Corey.
And we are Line
Locked Podcast
at
gmail.com.
Yeah, there you go. Still missed it. Bam. Have a good night, guys.